and you'll have the ciders. We'll have a short break while we readjust things, and then half loaves will be after this. These guys have been here a couple of times. I'm hoping that you're coming back because you've liked them before, and I don't need to introduce more. Have fun. See you.
This next song is called Take It All. you bring an extra guitar? How are you guys doing tonight? Thank you for coming out.
We're great! Yeah!
Yeah. That must be the next band that's enthusiastic. It's a beautiful day in Iowa. I went sledding with my son. And he's like, where are you going, Dad? I was like, well, I'm going to Marshalltown tonight to play a show. And he's like, Marshalltown? He said, I want to go so bad. I had to tell him no. It's my one joke. Practice it all day. many times now. I've been through this so many times now. Thank you. So our drummer right now, Graham, usually plays bass, and our keyboard player usually plays drums. So these guys learn instruments really quick, and this is our new bass player, Tony, playing tonight. You ready for Tony? This is, bass guy? thank you to the Orpheum for asking us to play. Thank you, Bob. Give it up for the Orpheum and Bob for putting this together. Really appreciate it. Give it up to the sound guys. Thank you for a great sound, buddy.
Staff have to do on applications, and I didn't find any findings. That is unusual for the first year that we come in and do an audit. And so I was very impressed with Lynn and her staff with how they manage the nutrition fund, because I always find something, and I didn't. So, and it's not from lack of looking. We spent about, before we went through our 2 layers of quality control review, we'd spent about 460 hours looking for stuff that's wrong. Okay, so we spent 460 hours looking for stuff that's wrong. I'll tell you what we found, okay? Take a look on page 70, okay? The first thing is a segregation of duties issues. This is a very common finding. You had it in the past. And it's something that I'll something I want to work with your staff. I think you have designed your systems very well to perhaps get rid of this finding, because I do think you have adequately segregated your staff. You've been spreading out responsibilities. It's something I need to go through. I will tell you at the beginning of the year, because we have to do this opinion on the entire year. At the beginning of the year, the duties were not properly segregated. That doesn't mean they weren't doing a good job. I think we could have done better. And I think they did better during the year, and I think it got better. And it's something I'm going to work with Paulette to see if next year we don't have this finding at all, because there was a definite improvement in the procedures and in the safeguards. Safeguards over payroll processing, safeguards over making tax deposits. There was a finding last year by the state in the nutrition fund, and the nice thing is, it was corrected. You know, they found it, and now all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but the procedures were taken to correct that. So that was very encouraging for me as an auditor, saying, hey, somebody pointed out this weakness. We come back to next year and there's not that weakness anymore, okay? So we have 4 types of things that we're looking for findings. The first one, instances of noncompliance related to the financial statements. There were no instances. That would be an auditor cheer. There are no instances of noncompliance. So, and then we have internal control deficiencies, and that was the segregation of duties. And then findings and costs related to federal awards. There were no reported instances of noncompliance. That's where I always have something for the nutrition fund if I'm auditing it for the first time. And the second one is the segregation of duties, the same as we had for the other. The remaining things are things that we are required to report on. The only thing, there's some things that are disclosure. There's several comments that are disclosure and oriented, but the only thing that was a violation of the things that the state of Iowa requires us to report on is the very last one on page 73. And of all the findings we had, this one I would find would be the most serious. Not that nobody's going to have to pay anything back or anything else, but the Student Activity Fund used to be a catch-all for anything we didn't know where to put someplace else. We'd make a Student Activity Fund to account for it. Several years ago, the Department of Education put out very clear guidelines as far as what's not allowed in the Student Activity Fund. And we have several accounts in the Student Activity Funds which are not properly recorded in the Student Activity Fund. The problem with the Department of Ed's guidance is they said, don't put it in the Student Activity Fund. They didn't tell us where to put it. But we have several things that the Student Activity Fund has to be related to extracurricular, competing with other school districts, or co-curricular activities, not things like anything that doesn't relate to those things. There's a lot of different little accounts that need to get cleaned up. And I don't know that, with the issues we had with the payroll and things, that wouldn't have been my top priority, but it's something that you should be aware of, okay? Please don't think it is not that we found things that were spent here shouldn't have been spent. That's not what we said. It's just that they're recorded in the Student Activity Fund, and they're not a proper student activity to be recorded in that fund. So that's all I have, and I took way too long. Any questions?
Just one, if you're not going to put these things in the student.
Would you use a
activity fund,
microphone?
would you create a separate fund? I can't hear you,
Use your microphone, please.
If you're not going to put these things in the student activity fund, would you just create a separate fund for that?
Some of them, it depends on the type of activity. Some of them can run through the general fund, depends on the type. There's probably a dozen different types of activities. Some could be in the general fund. Some should not be in the school district books at all, like they should be managed by an outside booster club or something like that. Some could perhaps go into a capital projects fund or something else. But it would depend on the specifics as far as where it goes. And I would say there were some of each, of all different kinds. Again, I also want to point out that is an extremely common finding for the last 3 years. We spent one of my other clients is a Waterloo Community Schools, and we spent hours trying to figure out where to put these things. And quite frankly, sometimes there's no good place to put them, because if you put them in the general fund, I'm gonna write your comment there. So, sometimes it's hard to know what to do with it. But I just gonna be an auditor and say, don't do that. Nowhere in there does it say, here's how to do it. But that's not my role. That's Paulette's job.
Paulette, can I ask a question of you?
Yeah.
We've had issue in the past years with the quality of our audit, not with you as auditor, but some auditors ago. And do you think that the sample sizes, the audit work, the number of accounts they went in depth on was better, more, gave you more comfort than what we saw from our audit a couple of years ago?
Absolutely, unequivocally, yes.
Well, certainly this binder passes the weight test over the other binder.
It's called the ice pick test.
Yeah.
If you can't get through it.
You passed that. Yeah. And so you feel good about the quality of the work that was done here versus work that we've had done in the past? Okay. Also, there was a page in here, I don't know if you made this, that gave our ratios.
Yes.
And the ratio that jumped out at me was our solvency ratio, which we've had issue with in the past. I assume that the money we received from the IRS is not included in these ratio numbers. If you had to recalculate our solvency ratio today, would it look better?
With putting that $600,000 back, no, it wouldn't make much difference because we're talking about a $65 million budget.
So then give me some comment or flavor about what your thoughts are about our solvency ratio.
Our board policy indicates that our target solvency ratio is between 8 and 10%. And yes, I put those in there in case this question came up. At the end of fiscal 19, our solvency ratio was at 4.6%. So we are a little bit below that board policy, but there's been several years of low supplemental state aid and financial challenges with all districts. Increasing our solvency ratio is going to take a little bit of work. Our spending authority, which is also on that sheet, your most important financial measure is your spending authority balance. Your spending authority is not found anywhere in the financial statement audit. Our spending authority balance is at a very healthy 24%. We have the authority to spend, we just don't have the cash to spend. So we have to try to get our solvency ratio a little bit higher. And then the other fiscal management target that's in our board policy is the days net cash. And I think we're at about 68 days.
Is what I calculated.
Net cash at the end of the year. Our board recommendation is between 60 and 75. That's because we don't get any state aid during July and August, so we have to have enough money in the bank on June 30th to pay our $4 million monthly payrolls and all the other bills to get us through until we get state aid again in September.
I think on your solvency ratio, the 600,000 on a $65 million budget, it's about 1 point. It's about 1%. So, I mean, it would have some effect, if that money is just coming in and it's just, boom, 600 and some odd thousand, drop it in here, it maybe 1%. It's a significant increase, but not huge.
And that revenue did come back to us in fiscal year 20. So that is, you might see that or might notice that on the monthly financials as a refund of prior year expenditures. So that will play into the number for this year.
Other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
All right,
you,
thank you
sir.
very much.
So we got 2 more songs for you guys. Just plowing right through them. And up next we have Half Love. Once again, thank you guys. Thank you to Orpheum.
that that gets done in a timely fashion so that we can start to frame our budget for next year around, what we can afford to spend, what we can't afford to spend, what we want our fiscal management targets to be going forward.
Questions for Paulette?
Paulette, on this very last slide, you have a total estimated increase of $1,728,000 for your, right? Mm-hmm. And on the slide before it, you showed new money of a little less than 1.1. So that shows your $600,000 gotta find from somewhere else, right? Mm-hmm. There goes your IRS refund, right?
This is a very oversimplified illustration. So like the 1.7% that I used on staff salaries, it costs 1.7%. It costs about $450,000 on an annual basis to move to advanced teachers on the teacher salary schedule. So that's why I'm using 1.7% there and just applied that to all salaries for the entire district. This is a very oversimplified illustration. It's a lot more detailed than this when we get down to it.
I get it.
But
The point is that you don't have enough money, new money, to, even with increasing enrollment, to
Yes.
keep up with expenses that we know we're going to have.
Correct.
The increases from the state annually have hardly kept pace with cost of living increases. And
They have not kept pace at all with what schools are needing.
Thank you very much. We'll be hearing more, I'm sure.
Yes, you will.
Mr. Manus? I think that microphone has shut off, so you need to turn it on top.
That button right there on top. You should be able to just press that. You hold it down. Well, we had it working a little bit ago. Okay.
Better.
Okay. I'll actually use it. Thanks for having us tonight. We've got some stuff we're kind of proud of, and we narrowed it down to 3. So we'll talk a little bit about what we've got here. I'll kind of start and then let the experts take over from there.
Would you introduce everyone at the table?
I sure will. To my left is Miss Estabrook. She is a first grade teacher. And to my immediate right is Miss Schmidt. I almost messed that up again. She is a third grade teacher. I got that part right. And then Miss Chima is our school counselor. Well, I'll start. Last year we were a designated ESSA school. And so what we did, we had some great meetings, pretty in-depth meetings. And one of the things that came out of our meetings was a need to come back around to something we used to do, and that was have vertical teams. And when we
Could
talk-
you, in a couple of quick sentences, explain what an ESSA school is for our new board members?
Sure. Last year, and of course, you just saw last week, the reports came out for this year, but when it first came out last year, we were designated a school that basically needed more help. So we were, us and a couple of other schools, we went to an institute in June that allowed us we put together a school leadership team and had some pretty in-depth meetings with our AEA reps and with some folks in Des Moines, and they were tough meetings. There was nothing easy about them. They were pretty stressful, but out of it came a lot of good stuff for us. Jennifer's going to talk about some of them. They're going to talk about some of them, and I'll start with, again, the vertical teams. We have meetings in school, we discuss things all the time about our data and everything, but we discuss it at grade levels and bring it back together. So what a vertical team allows us to do is to bring together those representatives of preschool through fourth grade on the same team so that we can discuss what's happening in those different grade levels for different areas at the same time. So we get a better understanding of, you know, what are we doing that needs to help the grade above, you know, where are the gaps, et cetera. So we have 3 vertical teams. It's the next slide, please. We have an SEL, social emotional learning vertical team, a math vertical team, and a literacy vertical team. We try to meet monthly. We started last month as with our ESSA timeline. We planned on starting those in January, so we're right on our timeline. Our SEL team, which is led by Ms. Chima, meets and they talk about our behavioral data in school. They talk about different incidents that happen. They talk about where they happen. They talk about what time they happen. And they, you know, we start looking to see if we see trends that way. It also incorporates our PBIS piece in our school. So they're looking at our expectations, everything from are the videos that we use with our kids that we create, are they helpful? Do they need to be more in depth? You know, do we need to update them? So they take all of those things and they look at those things pretty in depth and bring those back to the entire team in the school every month when we meet. Math and literacy kind of take a different approach. In the past, we've been able to do an item analysis when we've gotten our state assessment. But with the new assessment, we do not have that luxury anymore. So I looked at it a little bit differently. So when you look at those tests, everything's broken down by domain scores. So I took the average of each third and fourth grade's domains, and we looked at those 5 domains for math and literacy, and we took the lowest ones for the first meeting, and we backward tracked all the standards. We took all the standards that were available in those domains and went backwards to see, okay, so this was a weakness here. What's an area that, and then we used that and we used our curriculum, and we saw how that curriculum related to those standards, and we basically tried to look and see where there were some gaps that we might have missed or some things that we needed to emphasize. You know, math, for instance, we did find a pretty significant piece that will help us in the future, and it was just because those standards are not considered essential standards, and with our PLC work, we don't look at those in depth. So we were missing it, and sure enough, that it was showing up in our domains that was a weakness for us. So being able to really take a deeper dig at those standards is really starting to help. And again, we will try to meet monthly and bring that information back, and then through math in our PLCs to take that information and see how we can strengthen our core there, and in literacy the same way. Next place, we're going to go to Ms. Chima and Ms. Schmidt, and they're going to talk to us about some things they've started this year with positive action.
Okay, so with positive action is the new guidance curriculum that K-12 is using in all the buildings. But the main focus of positive action is to start with a positive thought that leads to a positive action that then leads to a positive feeling, and then it goes back to a positive thought. So it's a circle. And so Mrs. Schmidt actually came to me at the beginning of the year and said she wanted to try to do something with that, and so we started the Kindness Club. And so it is our third graders. They actually filled out an application to become that, and we started with 10, and now we're at 20-ish or so kids. But we meet twice a month, and they are spreading kindness through that positive thought and actions and then feelings to people in our school, and then we also have done something in our community. Like, you can go ahead.
So they put together like treat
I'm gonna
bags.
pull the microphone over.
Sorry. They put together treat bags for the police and firefighters in Marshalltown. I think we made around 40 bags, and then we had a couple firefighters and one of the police officers come to the school, and the kids delivered it to them and just thanked them for what they were doing around the community. So we've done that. We've done posters around the school. We have tried getting other classrooms involved in also spreading kindness, so it's not just our club doing it, but also asking other classrooms to take another step and do something else. So
And then these are just some pictures of the students. So the one in the upper left is obviously, or your right, I guess, if you're looking at it that way, is the firefighter and police officers. When they came, the students delivered them. And then this is just groups of students working with them, doing this. And one of the things that we asked the students to, when they applied for this, is what do they feel like kindness is, and how do they do that? And so they, filled those out, and a lot of them said, showing it to other people, and so doing, kind acts, nice acts to them. So this is just them spreading it out in groups and or classrooms in the building.
One of the big things that came out of our ESSA plan was an emphasis on math, and some pretty major changes have been made and some additions this year, and Ms. Esther Brook will start that conversation.
Last year with my team of first grade, there's 3 of us on first grade, we got our fall screeners test back, and our math scores were 33% proficient. So we decided we would do a book study on increasing the students' numbers.
Playing some songs right now. We're going through all the songs on our most recent album from last year called Dazer. If you guys are interested, we got CDs and vinyl records and some cool new hats. In New Orleans, I've seen it too many times. Seen it fuse and reciting that about that time. Don't talk you and think about what lies inside. Don't
Thank you so much.
Once ice cold through gravel kick of dust. The perfect cook would seem natureless, and it shambles softly at this stand. In preparation for the gods of land, and I still remember every word. Coincidence never tear apart. Coincidence never tear apart. Coincidence never tear apart. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Something's got you down. Something's got you down. Ooh, down. Something's got you down. Something's got you down.
Give it up for Nate, part-time mechanic too. Let's give it up. Yeah, Nate! Circuitry, electronics. get those kinks out, we're actually going to be doing a live session on Audio Tree Wednesday, which is in Chicago. It's a really cool live session, kind of like KEXP if you know that, so we're pretty pumped. But we're really thrilled to be with you guys tonight, so thanks for coming out. Not so thrilled about this guitar, we're going to figure it out. Give it up, yeah! Physics!
Sundown, is it tossing around?
talk about is Jam the Gym. I didn't get to go to it, but I wanted to. It was February 1st, and it was for high school seniors, and 2 seniors won $500 scholarships to MCC. The next thing is scholarships. Our counseling office does a really good job about sending out scholarship
You enlarged
opportunities to us almost every week. And so the seniors are receiving a ton of opportunities to get money. Upcoming athletic events. Today there's wrestling and basketball. Tomorrow there's bowling. Thursday there's wrestling again. Friday there's nothing going on. And Saturday there's swimming and basketball.
Just classes, right?
Yeah, it's senior night. So spring sports are coming up. So we've been having a lot of sign-up meetings, open gyms, and then scheduling for the weight room. The high school staff is going to start hanging signs that are mostly directed towards the seniors now to the end of the year, just kind of encouraging us to keep pushing through.
How many days do you have left?
I have no idea.
You're not counting them yet?
Is this yours? Okay. Second semester. So classes for second semester started on January 21st. Students had up to Friday, January 23rd to change their schedule. This is a quote. I'm very excited about my new electives, especially my MCC classes. I'm also looking forward to the start of track season. Do you want to do the next one?
So MHS after prom night will be held at Pizza Ranch on February 12th. The times will be 5 to 8 p.m. and 100% of the tips will be donated to the after prom.
These are Diana's slides, so I can't answer any of your questions if you have them. So science-bound, scholars will begin their career projects, a requirement to continue in the pre-college program. On February 12th, science-bound seniors will present their personal statements in front of staff and parents. This is a requirement to continue with the science-bound program. Several science-bound seniors volunteered to be judges for the 8th grade science-bound science fair. They paired off into 2 and judged the science fair projects based on how well they answered questions and followed the scientific method. The fair was held at Emerson on January 24th, 2020.
So French Club, along with French Honor Society, will be selling key and lock concept notes that will be purchased and then delivered to loved ones during Valentine's week. For every lock sold, an additional one will also be made and used as a display in honor of the Love Lock Bridge in Paris. It's a fun way to tie 2 different cultures together. French is also looking for approval to decorate lockers with little masks for Mardi Gras. Band. State Jazz was held at the high school last Monday. Student participation is always welcome when it comes to hosting bands or running scores, and student participation was strong this year. Our annual pasta dinner was the following day with an amazing turnout. 1,500 was made in profit, and all the dessert even ran out. This was our last fundraiser before our trip next month. The Iowa State Honor Band will take place this Friday. 4 select students, Evelyn Rangel, Heather Junk, Rebecca Stone, and I will participate. And then Southeast Polk Jazz will be the 15th, and the Iowa Wild game that was postponed due to weather will now be on Valentine's Day. XLP updates. Robotics scored second in league meet and advanced to super qualifiers. If they do well enough at super qualifiers, they could move on to state. Math team participated in the American Math Contest, which is a 70-minute, 25 multiple choice test. It assesses the best students in the nation, and select students move on to participate in the American Math Olympiad. LOL had the pleasure to welcome Hunter Davenport from the Meskwaki Nation on Tuesday, January 28th during lunch to discuss his chapter in We the Interwoven, titled Black Thunder, a Meskwaki Story. He told us about his culture, life, and artwork, and left us with the message that even when life is hard and it seems like nothing is right, there is hope and a reason to keep pushing forward. Lastly, SWE, or SWE, is the Society of Women Engineers. A team must comprise of 5 or more members, and this year's team will be Grace, Kaisa, Carly, Yesenia, Leticia, and I. The SWE challenge is to address a community issue and then come up with an effective way to solve it. This year's focus deals with environmental or economic issues, but as a team we took an environmental approach to take a step forward towards prairie restoration. 99.9% of the original landscape that was here hundreds of years ago is now gone, resulting in many extirpated animals. The soil quality as the years go on is also a concern, and planting the prairies could help restore some of the topsoil. If all is successful, there will be a conference in March where many well-respected women engineers will attend, and we will get a chance to present our presentation with the potential of a $1,000 fund to execute our idea. It's intended to inspire girls to pursue a STEM career and gain confidence as they go on.
So is your issue assigned to you, or do you choose your issue?
No, we choose it. We looked at several factors statewide and then focused it on the community and realized there's not a lot of prairies here personally, and realized it can be a goal.
Other questions for the ladies?
What is LOL?
LOL stands for Literature Over Lunch.
I'll confess, I'm on the library board. Do you do anything with the library?
Yes, we meet with Joa.
Oh, all right, good.
Usually once a month, and we read different books. So the author visit was the second book from the same. We read another chapter a couple months ago over Antonia Rivera, and this is the second one over Hunter Davenport.
Now you know the questions to ask when you go to the library board meeting.
What? Yeah, that's right.
Of course.
We have 3 acres of restored prairie that is it's not part of our property, but it is adjacent to it. And I know he spent over 40 years restoring it, so it is an interesting project.
Well, one of the things I forgot to share is that as the SWE challenge, we have to incorporate elementary, or not necessarily elementary kids, but we do have to involve kids from different schools in the project itself, which is a neat little thing because I personally love children.
Thank you, ladies.
Thanks a lot.
I printed out some copies because, you know, it was amended a little bit.
And that also passes the ice pick test?
It looks like it a little bit. We can recycle these.
That's okay. You have to share.
Okay. It's close.
It's close?
We need to take a break here.
It's close.
This document will be officially, when it's completed, published on our school website for parents to review as students get ready to go through the registration process. We do not make the ice pick test for every student, and in fact, the counselors prefer an online version, which we have created in a Google site for the students who all have Chromebooks, and so they can easily access those that way. So I will just begin to go through with some of the things that were updated. On page 3, my notes to the students really focus on being Bobcat ready, so that was updated. In the table of contents, you can see the highlighted courses. One was deleted, others were added there. So we're pretty excited. And then Dr. Schutte mentioned an amendment, so the ag classes are highlighted in there as well as fire science, and a new class will be technical math. There's some things that are still going on with formatting, as you can see in this document. Once I take out all of the deletions and everything, then I'll spend a little bit more time cleaning that up, but I didn't want to spend too much time doing that before I got all those edits out of there. The next update that occurs is on page 12, and you would have noticed in the table of contents that desktop publishing was deleted in the business part of the program there. No students have enrolled in that course in the last 3 years, so we went ahead and deleted that. Their skill set is pretty more advanced than just regular desktop publishing nowadays. Next edit occurs on page 22 in the English department section. Speech has grown in its popularity. We have quite a few students who participate in a variety of speech extracurricular activities, but it's also part of the English curriculum in terms of their presentation and being able to speak to the public. It was exciting. I know Dr. Schutte participated. I did as well in an English 12, and Sean did too. In English 12 semester presentations of the work that they had learned, and it was amazing to watch our students, and some were very embarrassed, some were scared, and they just needed a lot of encouragement, and so they did a really nice job of presenting to, oh yeah, Bob's with me in my group, yeah. So it's a class that kids need so that they become more comfortable in that skill set, in 21st century skill set of speaking to the public. The next edit is on page 44, and basically we're adding the Introduction to Industrial Arts Technology, so that's that first course in the Industrial Arts Technology. This is going to be about 6 different modules that will introduce students to what's available in industrial arts technology, so they can choose from welding, machining, construction. We also have plumbing, and we've added another class, which is towards the end on the next page 46, which is small engine and basic automotive maintenance. We have a lot of students who are really interested in that kind of thing, whether it's working on the motors for lawnmowers or snow blowers, which we used to offer that at the high school, was maintenance and preparation for winter storage or summer storage or at the end, whatever. So we'd like to see the kids get back into that. We currently have 3 students who travel every day to Grinnell for the automotive program there as part of the Iowa Valley Collaborative. So it's pretty cool. That's how interested they are in automotive. So we missed that. Used to be right over there across from the high school, not too far. I forgot to put this in yellow, but it's on page 52, one of the last math classes that has been added. It's called technical math. We have students who have a need to understand more things like calipers, how to measure with calipers, or especially when they're working on welds and they're working in machining, those fine measurements that they have to practice. We just heard from the Health Careers Club. That's a different kind of math that they need to be able to do with CCs and different types of heart rate monitors and measuring dosages for patients and things like that. So technical math will address a lot of career areas, and we have seen that increase in the number of kids enrolling in that at MCC as part of their certificates or diploma programs. Almost to the end here. Last edit. Couple edits. It's really big. It has to do with Project Lead the Way. It's in the specialized section, starting on my page 76 in your printout. Project Lead the Way Computer Science Essentials would be a first-year course to introduce a 4-course pathway in computer science. We've had a couple of computer science classes, but now we're really trying to break it out so that there's engineering pathway. We already have a biomedical sciences pathway, and now we will have a clearly defined computer science pathway. So the first year would be Computer Science Essentials, and then we've had on the books Computer Science Principles and Computer Science A, as well as AP Computer Science, and then a capstone class would be Cyber Security. Doesn't that sound like fun? Sounds like a lot of fun. So pretty exciting there for us to have that. And as was mentioned a couple of times in other meetings, we now have a K-12 computer science program. So we're moving ahead and becoming a a district of distinction. And also in this section, let's see, where did I put that? I'm sorry, we're probably going to have to go back to family consumer science. We are adding the fire science pathway in a collaboration with Kirkwood, which is new for us. That's the closest fire science program that's available. Though that just closed or cleaned up for us this last Friday, the coursework that's in there. Starts out with 2 courses that are in, let me just find that. They're online courses that first year. We're going to really be marketing this to our sophomores. And I think, did I put that in? Where did I put that? Sorry, thought I had that marked. It is right after the project Lead the Way. So it starts out with 2 online courses that they would take as juniors, but then as their senior year, they would need to have a block period open so that they could take through MCC EMT 1 and 2 and their practicum through EMT. And then the second semester of the senior year, they would take Firefighter 1, which would be taught by our local Chris Cross from the fire department, which is pretty exciting. It's another great collaboration that we have. We already have one going with the police department. Now we have a fireman that'll work with our students. And they end up with a certificate from Kirkwood for fire service. They could go on to, that's an entry-level position for firefighting, also works well for volunteer firefighting if they want to, or they could pursue their associate's degree from Kirkwood in fire science. So a lot of opportunities there. The other one that we've been working on has to do with, where is that fire science here? Sorry. Has to do with our meat cutting apprenticeship with Fairway. We just also cleared that up. I am excited to say that we were finally going to get ag in the high school. Finally get ag in the high school. I've been kind of wanting to do that, and didn't grow up on a farm, but here we are living in this country, in this part of the state, and all of this ag around us. And so Ag 1 will be offered. That's under, right, it's the very first department, sorry. Let me get that for you. Right before art. And that is on page 2, which is weird because it comes after page 26. Sorry. It's weird. Anyway, Ag 1, Intro to Agriculture, is open to any student to prepare them for experiences in agriculture. And then Animal Science is a required course for the meat cutting apprenticeship. Did you find that, Adam, right after? It's right after page 26. It turns to page 2. So don't ask me why it did that, but you're almost there, You're almost there. Right after this section, right here. Oh, it's right before that. Oh, no, so this isn't the printed one, sorry. After we just did all that. So animal science is required in the meat cutting apprenticeship, and then students will be able to begin their meat cutting online class and working at Fairway at the same time in their senior year. So there's not a lot of students that'll be interested in that, but there are a lot of students who'll be interested in animal science. So those students who are pre-veterinary would like to maybe get involved in that or check out if they want to be involved in animal science, or there's just so many opportunities in ag. I just don't think our students have ever even explored that. They haven't had a chance to explore because they don't know what it is. So this is really not what kids will look at. It'll be online, and they'll have the link to it, and parents can look at it too, as we keep saying, your kids are registering. Have you asked them, what are they registering for? So they can look at that. I did share a link with Adam, if you wouldn't mind pulling that up. We put all of this information into a Google site, and it's still in progress. Class meetings are this Friday. So we think this fits better. It's that 2021 MHS course manual. Do you see that? Can you Google that, Adam? 2021. Just Google 20-21 MHS. Oh, no, you got to do 2020, I think. 2020-2021. No, I think you got to go 2021. Hopefully it'll pop up. MHS space, MHS, there, is that it? No. We're looking for the Google site. Does that not give you, so just try typing in 2020-2021 space MHS. I think you gotta have a space in there, bud.
I found it.
Course guide, you found it? So what's really exciting about the Google site, if you can see it, Sean, is that it's laid out by the career clusters, the 16 Iowa career clusters, so that if a student has an interest in ag, oh, did you find the Marshalltown one, Sean?
I'm not sure, hang on.
I found it.
What's it called?
It is called, what did I actually search? 2021 course, back here.
That's last year's
Course
guide.
manual, Marshalltown Senior High.
And does it have the career clusters on there?
Let me look.
So because
so.
our students are so technological, what we did is we created a Google site, and then they just click on their career cluster. So if they're interested in emergency services, which is where fire science would fall,
It's all about being selfish. you so much. Thanks to our buddies, Sires. Good to see you all again.
Give it up for Sires, they're awesome.
Give those boys a hand. Some cool new tunes, some cool tunes. Very blessed to be here tonight in Marshalltown. Thanks again to Bob and the whole crew. Thanks for sound. Thanks for all the volunteers, and certainly all you guys for coming and hanging out with us. We got a few more tunes. One more tune? Okay. We got one more. It's a long one, but thank you again. We're Half Loves. And again, we do have some merch if you guys want a record or something like that. We're Half Loves. Have a good night. this. Can we go tonight?